For humanity's first interstellar battle mark in perfect unison, the human fleet engaged their jump drives, appearing directly behind the Moors' attack force before the enemy could react. Human ships unleashed a devastating barrage of missiles and energy weapons, multiple hits on enemy vessels. Adams called out excitement in his voice. They're turning to engage on the main view screen. Eliza watched as the massive Moor ships struggled to reposition. They were built for power, not agility. All ships execute evasive pattern delta, target their engines and weapon systems. She ordered the human vessels moved with practiced precision. Darting between the slower Moor ships, years of training in Earth's asteroid fields had made human pilots experts. At close quarters, combat the Moors. Commander is hailing us. Park announce. Deliza nodded on screen. The view screen showed a grotesque face. Gray skin, multiple yellow eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. Unknown vessels, the Moors commander growled. You interfere in matters beyond your understanding, withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Lisa stood tall. This is Commander Eliza Morgan of Earth's Defense Fleet. We air allies of the Tall Confederation. Your forces will withdraw from this system orifice. Complete destruction. The Moors commander laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal earth. We have no record of your species. Your primitive vessels pose no threat to the Moors' empire. Perhaps a demonstration is in order, Eliza replied coldly. Lieutenant. Adams target their command ship's weapons array fire when ready. The Defiant's main cannon charged up glowing bright blue before releasing a concentrated beam of energy that sliced through the Moors' flagship's outer defenses. Secondary explosions rippled across the enemy vessel. All ships concentrate fire on designated targets. Eliza ordered, show them exactly what primitive means. The battle raged for 3 hours. Human ships took damage, some critically, but they fought with a ferocity that shocked both allies and enemies, where tall ships retreated when damaged human vessels pressed forward even when burning. When a Moors cruiser targeted a civilian evacuation ship, the human vessel Intrepid deliberately collided with it, its crew sacrificing themselves to save hundreds of tall civilians from the surface of Proxima Tau, the Confederation. Leaders watched in awe and horror. The human style of warfare was unlike anything they had witnessed before. Not just the technology, but the willingness to sacrifice for tactical advantage. When the last Moor ship retreated from the system, 13 human vessels remained operational. The others were either destroyed or heavily damaged. The cost had been high, over 500 human lives lost, but not a single Moor ship had reached the planet's surface. On the bridge of the damaged Defiant, a laser received the casualty. Reports with a grim face. Send word to Earth. She told her communications officer. First engagement successful. Enemy repelled. Request reinforcements and resupply. She paused, looking at the list of the dead, and tell them their sacrifice mattered. Admiral Reed stood before the huge tactical display in the Joint Species Command Center. Around him, representatives from 7 alien races of the Tall Confederation watched with a mixture of awe and concern. As he outlined the next phase of operations, the defense of Proxima was only the beginning. Reed explained, his voice firm and confident. Now we take the fight to the enemy. Our intelligence shows 3 key Moor supply bases in these systems. He pointed to glowing Reddits on the Galactic map troll the military leader of the Venturi species raised. A webbed hand admiral with respect attacking these bases directly would cost too many lives. The Confederation has always used containment strategies, and that's why you're losing this war. Reed interrupted. Containment doesn't work against an enemy. Like the Moors, we need to hit them where it hurts. In the months since the battle at Proximal Earth had sent 12 more battle groups to Confederation space. Human factories worked around the clock, producing weapons and ships at a pace that amazed their alien allies. Diplomat Thomas Ward, humanity's political representative, tried to smooth the tension in the room. What the Admiral means is that our approach differs from yours. Humans have learned through our own conflicts that decisive action saves lives. In the long run after the meeting, Nareen, a tall historian who had been recording the war, approached Thomas. Your people puzzle me, Nareen admitted as they walked through the station corridors. In private, you laugh and show kindness, yet in war, you show no hesitation, no mercy. Thomas smiled sadly. Humans compartmentalize, we fight hard, so we can live peacefully afterward. The quicker this war ends, the fewer people die on both sides, but your casualty reports, Naren began, are highs, and each death is mourned. Thomas said. But we accept these losses as the cost of victory. It's why we fight as we do. 2 weeks later, the human-led assault in the Moors' supply bases began. Unlike the defensive action at Proxima Tau, this was a coordinated attack on multiple fronts. Commander Morgan led the largest battle group against the main Moors base in the Vidian system. All ships commence attack. Pattern Omega, she ordered bombers in the first wave cruisers providing cover fire. The human fleet moved with deadly precision where Confederation tactics focused on disabling ships and offering surrender. Humans struck to destroy, they targeted power. Core's weapon systems and command centers with ruthless efficiency. On the second day of the battle, human forces breached the Moors' defensive line and landed ground troops on the main supply planet. Major Alex Turner led the assault team into the Moors' base. What they found inside shocked even the battle-hardened humans. Thousands of captured aliens from conquered worlds were being held in terrible conditions. Some were used as slave labor, others as test subjects for Moors' weapons. Get medical. Teams down here now. Turner ordered his voice tight with anger and document everything the whole galaxy needs to see. This as the liberated prisoners were evacuated. One old alien touched Turner's arm. "You fight differently than the others," he said. Weakly. The Moors feared you would come. They spoke of the humans with worry. Turner nodded grimly. They should be worried. When reports from the ground reached the Joint Command, the mood changed among the Confederation leaders. The evidence of Moors' atrocities hardened even the most peaceful species against the enemy. Admiral Reed presented the results to the War Council. 3 major Moors bases captured, 5 planets liberated, and thousands of prisoners freed. The cost had been high. 27 human ships lost, and over 3,000 personnel killed or wounded. This is just the beginning, Reed told them. The Moors now know we're serious. They'll respond with everything they have. Villain, who had first sought Earth's help, looked troubled. Your people have accomplished in weeks what we couldn't do in years, but at such cost is this truly sustainable? Reed's expression was stone war is never sustainable. Ambassador, that's why we don't drag it out. The Moors started this conflict by attacking peaceful worlds. Humanity will finish it by any means necessary. As the meeting ended, Naren made another entry in his war chronicle. The humans do not fight as we do. They do not seek balance or minimal victory. They seek total defeat of their enemy regardless of the price they must pay. And this perhaps is why they may succeed where we have failed 6 months into the war. The mood in Earth's orbital defense headquarters was tense. Admiral Reed studied the incoming message with a grim face. Confirmed this intelligence. He ordered Triplek, check the sources. Lieutenant Davis nodded. Sir, it's already been verified. The Tall Spy network is certain. The Moors Emperor has ordered his main fleet to attack Earth directly after months of human-led victories across 3 sectors. The Moors had changed their strategy. Rather than continuing to fight the Confederation, they had decided to strike at humanity's home. They think if they can knock us out of the war, the rest of the Confederation will fold. Reed said, addressing the emergency council meeting. They're right. President Lee looked around the table at the grim faces of Earth's military leaders. How much time do we have? Their fleet will reach our outer defenses in 5 days, Reed replied. They're coming with everything they have. Then we'll be ready for them. Lee said firmly, activate Defense Plan Omega within hours. The message spread throughout human space. Earth was under threat. Every available ship was recalled. For home defense, civilian vessels were armed and pressed into service. Colonial defense forces mobilized to support Earth on the main Confederation base. Ambassador Villain received the news with horror. We must send aid immediately. He insisted to the Confederation Council, humanity has sacrificed much for our cause. We have few ships to spare. Trial of the Venturi argued, if we weaken our defenses, here if Earth falls, we all fall. Thomas Ward interrupted, his voice sharp. My people are fighting for their survival now, just as we've been fighting for yours. Lieutenant Anna Ray checked her combat suit. One final time around her, 300 other soldiers of the Earth's Special Forces did the same. They were aboard the stealth transport Phantom, hidden among the debris of a destroyed moon on the edge of the Sol system. This mission is straightforward. Colonel Blake told them over the comm. When the Moors flagship enters the system, we board it, capture their command center, and secure their battle plans. Simple. A nervous laugh rippled through the troops. Everyone knew most of them wouldn't return. The intelligence we gather could save Earthrise, reminded her squad that's worth any price. 3 days later, the largest space battle in galactic history began. The Moors arrived with over 200 warships, nearly half there. Total fleet they expected to find Earth defended, but vulnerable. Instead, they found a trap human ships attacked from hidden positions throughout the system, automated defense platforms disguised as debris activated and opened fire, the carefully planned. Ambush caught the Moors' fleet in a devastating crossfire. As the battle raged, the Phantom slipped alongside the massive Moors flagship using cutting tools and shake charges. Rise and her team breached the hull and fought their way through the enormous ship command center ahead. Rise reported as her team took cover behind alien machinery. Heavy resistance, we're not leaving without those command codes, Colonel Blake replied over the comm, his voice steady despite the sounds of battle around him. Whatever it takes, Lieutenant. The fighting was brutal. Of the 300 soldiers who boarded, only 87 survived to reach the command center. Rise herself took a plasma burn to her side, but kept moving when they finally secured the bridge. Rises downloaded the entire Moors command database. While Blake held off enemy counterattacks package secured, she reported beginning extraction. Only 42 soldiers made it back. To the Phantom, Colonel Blake was not among them. The Battle of Sol lasted 3 days. When it ended, humanity had suffered terrible. Boss's 3 colony worlds had been scorched by Moors' weapons. Millions were dead. A third of Earth's fleet was destroyed, but the Moors had lost more. Their main fleet was in ruins, their flagship captured, and their Emperor's battle plans exposed in the war room on Earth. Admiral Reed looked at the intelligence Rise had recovered. This is it. Oh, he said quietly, the location of their home system, their central command structure, their defense codes. He looked up at President Lee with this, "We can end the war at what cost?" She asked. Reed's face was like stone. "Whatever it takes. They came to our home. They killed our people. Now they'll learn why that was the biggest mistake they ever made." Captain Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the stealth ship. Shadow, his team of 50 elite soldiers, waited in the hole below, each one specially selected for what many called a suicide mission final approach to the Moors' home system. His pilot reported, "Still no sign they've detected us." Webb nodded. "Maintain course, keep us in the shadow of the outer planet's rings." 2 weeks had passed since the battle of Sol. While Earth rebuilt its defenses, Admiral Reed had put into motion the most daring plan of the war, Operation Downfall, a direct assault on the Moors' homeworld. But before the main fleet could attack, Webb's team had to disable the planetary defense grid. Remember, Webb told his soldiers as they prepared to deploy, "We have 6 hours to take down the 3 main control stations. After that, the fleet arrives. If those defenses are still up when they get here, thousands will die." Lieutenant Reyes, still recovering from her wounds from the Moors' flagship mission, checked her weapons. "Will get it done, Captain." Using the small dropships, Webb's team descended to the Moors' homeworld under cover of darkness. The planet's surface was a maze of industrial complexes and military installations. Team 1 with me, Webb ordered teams 2 and 3 proceed to your targets. As they moved through the alien city, the humans witnessed the true nature of Moors' society. Everything served their war machine. Even their own people appeared to live under strict military control. "Makes you understand why they're like this," Rise whispered as they passed a group of young Moors being drilled by soldiers. "Their whole culture is built on conquest. Doesn't excuse what they've done." Webb replied, "Stay focused." Reaching the first control station, Webb's team encountered heavy resistance. The Moors fought with the desperation of those defending their home. Even with their advanced tactics and equipment, the humans suffered. Casualties, control room secured. Webb reported after an hour of brutal fighting, planting charges now across the planet. The other teams reported similar progress, but Team 3 had lost half their members taking their target. The defense grid is down, Webb confirmed after all 3. Stations were destroyed, sending the signal to the fleet as they fought their way back to their extraction point. Alarms blared across the planet. The Mord had realized what was happening too late, Rise said, with grim satisfaction. The hammer's already falling in the Joint Command Center. Admiral Reed watched as the combined human Confederation fleet entered the Moors' home system, over 500 ships. The largest force ever assembled moved into attack formation. The defense grid is down, communications. Reported Captain Webb's team was successful beside Reed. The representatives of the Confederation species shifted uncomfortably when Reed had first proposed a direct attack on the Moors' home world. Many had objected. The Tall and other peaceful species had never considered such an aggressive action. "This will end the war in one stroke," Reed had argued, "rather than fighting across 100 worlds for years, costing millions more lives." In the end, they had agreed, but none of them were prepared for what Humanity had planned begin Phase 2 Reed ordered from the cargo holds of 20 massive human carriers. Special weapons were deployed, relativistic kinetic impactors designed to strike military targets at near light speed. These weren't weapons of mass destruction, they were weapons of absolute precision. First wave of kinetic strikes complete tactical reported Moor's orbital defenses neutralized. Their fleet is in disarray on screens around the command center. The Confederation representatives watched in awe as humanity's most closely guarded weapons systematically disabled the Moor's military infrastructure without touching civilian areas. Second wave deployed. Reed announced targeting their main fleet yards and weapons factories within hours. The Moor's military capability was shattered. Their remaining ships either surrendered or were destroyed. And then a message from the planet's surface. The Moor's Emperor is requesting communications. Announced surprise evident in his voice. Reed nodded, put him through the face. That appeared on the main screen was not the arrogant conqueror they expected. This was a leader who had seen his empire's power broken in a single day. Enough. The Moor's Emperor said, "We surrender unconditionally, the war is over." As cheers erupted throughout the command center, Ambassador Villain turned to Admiral Reed. "You did what we thought impossible," he said quietly. "You ended a war that we believed would last generations." Reed's face showed no joy, only grim satisfaction. "This is what happens when you threaten humanity. Ambassador, we don't fight to negotiate. We fight to end the threat permanently 3 months after the surrender of the Moor's empire." The Great Hall of the Confederation Council gleamed with light and color. Representatives from 23 species gathered for the peace ceremony, including the 5 races liberated from Moor's enslavement and the 3 that had been thought lost forever. Admiral Reed stood tall in his formal uniform as he signed the final peace treaty on behalf of Earth. Across the table, the former Moor's emperor, now merely their representative of his people, signed with a trembling hand with these signatures. "The war is officially ended," announced the tall high speaker. "Let this day mark the beginning of a new era of peace." Applause filled the hall, but Reed noticed the way many of the Confederation species watched him and the other humans present their expression. Showed gratitude mixed with fear, the kind of look given to a dangerous weapon that had served its purpose later at the celebration banquet. Reed found himself approached by Villain, the ambassador, who had first come to Earth seeking help. "Your people have changed the galaxy forever," Villain said, offering a traditional tall greeting with his 4 hands. The Moors thought themselves invincible until humanity showed them otherwise. Reed nodded. "Every empire falls eventually when it pushes too far. The Moors made the mistake of threatening those we promised to protect." And now Villain asked carefully, "What will humanity do now that the war is won?" Reed understood the unspoken concern. In just 9 months, humans had accomplished what the Confederation couldn't in years. The galaxy now knew of Earth's military prowess and willingness to use it. "Now we rebuild." What Reed said simply, "Our shipyards are already being converted back to civilian production. Most of our forces will return home." Across the room, Thomas Ward was speaking with Noreen, the tall historian who had documented the entire war. "Is your chronicle finished?" Thomas asked, noticing the data tablet Naren carried everywhere. "Almost," Noreen replied. "It titled it, 'They Begged for Help. The Awakening of Earth.' It will be studied by our people for generations." Thomas smiled. "An appropriate title. There is one question I have not been able to answer." Noreen admitted, "Your people fought with such intensity for those who were strangers to you. What would humanity do if Earth itself were truly threatened?" Thomas's smile faded. "Let's hope the galaxy never finds out." On the newly liberated world of Vidian Lieutenant Ray, it's walked through a market that had been a battlefield just months before children of various species played, where once soldiers had fought and died. Her wounds had healed, but she still carried the memories of those lost in old Vidian. Approached her, his tentacle arms carrying a small carved stone for you, he said in broken human language. To remember the stone bore the simple inscription, "They came when we called." Reyes accepted it with Aenud too moved to speak. 6 months later, on the rebuilt Proxima Tal, Valan and Thomas met one last time. Before Thomas would return to Earth, they stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city, watching ships from dozens of worlds move peacefully through the skies. "The Confederation Council has voted to establish a permanent alliance with Earth." Valan informed him. "Many were hesitant, but none could deny what we owe your people and the provisions for technology exchange." Thomas asked. Approved. Villain confirmed, though some fear what humanity might do with advanced Confederation technology. Thomas looked out at the peaceful scene below them. Fear is natural after what they've witnessed, but humanity fights hardest. When defending others, we didn't come to conquer. We came to help. And you did, Valan, acknowledged at great cost in the memorial garden below. Names of the fallen from all species were inscribed in stone. Earth's section was the largest, over 20,000 names of those who had died in a war that wasn't originally theirs. The galaxy has changed. Villain said quietly. Species that never spoke now trade and cooperate. The Moors rebuild under watchful eyes. Humanity has taken its place among the stars. As Thomas prepared to leave, Noreen approached with a final copy of his completed chronicle for Earth's archives. The historian said, "So your people will remember what they accomplished." The final page contained Naren's personal reflection. They came when we begged for help. They fought as if our worlds were their own. And when victory was won, they extended a hand in peace even to their enemies. If this is humanity, then the galaxy is fortunate indeed that they answered our call, and terrifying to consider what might have happened had anyone ever truly threatened.